Very honored to welcome on Commissioner Gary Bettman today to the Paul Kariya Studio on this episode of Light the Lamp. Gary, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. How was your travel to Anaheim?
It was great. It's always terrific to come to the Honda Center. I always enjoy seeing games here, and I try to get around to as many buildings as possible. So we put this on the agenda. Traffic in the rain in Southern California is a little rough, but really I have no complaints. It was a good trip.
It's not all too often. It's raining, I'm sure, when you're here.
I think this may be a first.
Okay. How many games do you try to get to in a year?
I try to get to every team at least once, and then business obligations, playoff games, it's opportunistic. I would say, 50 games, pick a number. But one of the great perks of this job is I get to go to hockey games.
Well, we're happy to have you in Anaheim for tonight's matchup. I know it's a very busy week, the trade deadline this week. Is your week impacted by that deadline very much?
Not unless there's a problem. We have a lot of terrific people in Central Registry, which is headed by Sean McLeod. And to the extent things bubble up a little bit, they go to our Chief Legal Officer, David Zimmerman, or Deputy Commissioner Bill Daly. If we have a really big problem, that they call me in, but I don't do the mechanics of the trade anymore. Something in my way younger days when this whole procedure was invented, I might do, but I haven't done it in years.
When you think back on just how your role has changed, but do you have a favorite moment that you have been able to accomplish in your role?
It's a great question, and I get asked it a lot, and there's never one thing that always stands out, except in this case, presenting the Stanley Cup. It's the best trophy ever, and it's a great honor to present it and to be on the ice and see the players and their emotion having just won the championship that close never gets old. It's always special, and it's always an honor.
In what ways has your role as commissioner changed throughout the years?
We do more than ever before. When I started, nobody knew what a website was, right? I don't think the iPhone was invented for more than a decade after I started as commissioner. The use of technology, the way our games are presented, the media distribution we have is more extensive. What we're doing internationally, what we do in our clubs, more importantly, do in their communities, all of the efforts to be more inclusive and diverse. I mean, the list of what we're doing now compared to what we were doing then, even the fact, and people take this for granted, good and bad, the fact that we have 2 referees. When I started, there was 1 referee on the ice, which made an impossible job even more impossible. So the part of what you have to do in this type of job is evolve and try and stay with, if not ahead of the times, because the most important thing we do besides presenting the game on the ice is how we connect with our fans, and that's constantly changing.
And with that constant change, I'm sure your goals have changed as well. Is there anything that you're hoping to achieve that you haven't been able to do yet?
We want to continue to grow the game. We want to continue to grow hockey at all levels all over the world. We want to continue to become even more diverse and more welcoming. And so it's all about continuing to grow.
When you became the commissioner, it was also the same year that the Anaheim Ducks became a team. What do you remember thinking back to that inaugural season about the Mighty Ducks at the time?
The first thing that pops into my head is the picture with Michael Eisner, Bruce McNall, and me blowing a duck call. That picture has never gone away in terms of presentation. But what I remember was the excitement and the enthusiasm about this franchise starting up. And this franchise has been terrific. And whether it was under the Walt Disney Company or then under Henry and Susan Samueli, this franchise went from having great ownership to even greater ownership. What would they do to contribute to hockey, to contribute to the greater community in Orange County, the investments that they make, whether it's OC Vibe or the Children's Museum or what they do for youth hockey, it is nothing short of phenomenal. And it's really a classic exhibition of what great ownership does.
Just in seeing you talk about what they've been able to do in the community, but also how hockey's been able to grow in Southern California.
I think when they took over the club, there may have been 5 high school hockey teams, and now there are somewhere between 50 and 60. I may be low counting, but it's all part of them making hockey and investing in hockey as part of the community. And in addition to everything I described in terms of what they've done in the community, this team has been exciting. This team has been competitive. This team under them has won a Stanley Cup. And it's really a joy to come see a game here. And I believe attendance is up this year and TV ratings are up this year. And this is in a transformational year. But they've always given the club the support it needs to be competitive. And, they are great owners.
Going along with that, the OC Vibe project that's now underway, how much do you think that will continue to impact the community here?
I think it's going to create a central gathering place throughout Orange County to give the Orange County even more of an identity where people can come together than it's ever had. And again, it demonstrates the Samueli's commitment to Orange County.
So it's also been special through your reign as commissioner that you were a part of introducing the 3rd jersey to the NHL. Tonight, the Ducks are going to be wearing their 30th anniversary plum, that 3rd jersey. What do you think that says about just the ode to the history here in Anaheim?
Well, the history here in Anaheim, but even the history of hockey in general. This is a sport that has a great long history. We're older than the NBA. We're older than the NFL. It's us in baseball that go back the longest. And we've always respected history, and it's part of our authenticity, and it's part of the culture of the game. And even a so-called newer franchise respecting their history and tradition is really phenomenal to see and shows the respect that even the newbies have for our great history.
You talked about how attendance records are up, and I know that the report came out that in general, the league is on track to set another record this season. In terms of being able to grow the sport and on that end, seeing the fan base continuing to grow all across the country and North America in general, what is the positive in seeing that number right now and where we're at, post-COVID and post the pandemic and everything?
We came through COVID very strong, and it was the ultimate team effort and the ultimate team sport with the bubbles, with the support from ownership, with the cooperation of the players and the Players Association, and with the understanding of fans. And we've come back stronger than ever. We're going to set an attendance record this year. Our ratings are up pretty strongly, both in Canada and the U.S. Revenues will be at an all-time high. And that speaks well for the health of the game. But everything we do and the game itself is what's important. What takes place on the ice are extraordinary competitive balance. I guess that's contagious. Our extraordinary competitive balance, the amazing things that our players can do. That gives us entertainment values that are second to none, which is why what we focus on is taking our great game and looking to how we can give fans the best possible experience, whether it's in person or connecting through various forms of media platforms. Like this one.
Also, a part of that was the recent stadium series, under you, the Winter Classic being created as well. But getting to play those outdoor games, how important is that to just kind of connect with that part of hockey?
Again, it's another way to give fans an incredible experience. The Ducks, if you may recall, you may not have been out here by then, playing the Kings at Dodger Stadium, I don't know, a dozen years ago or so. The fact that we had 150,000 fans at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey in a 24-hour period, and the fans just had a great time and a unique experience. Taking the game outdoors is the ultimate reality show. Our fans typically don't gather in groups of more than 18 or 20,000. To have that many people come together, tailgating, celebrating our players and our game, that's what it's all about. And it's all about the fan experience.
Do you see the potential for another outdoor game in California?
Absolutely.
And
I'm not making an announcement now, but you know what? This is a place where hockey really matters, and bringing our tentpole events here is something that we're focused on. whether it's an outdoor game, and we've had discussions about it, whether or not when the OC Vibe is completed, bringing an all-star game here, which is something we very much want to do, bringing a draft. Yeah, we're proud to have the Ducks in the league, and we want to share our tentpole experiences with the Ducks organization and the fans here.
Also, as a part of just talking about the future and what's ahead, the Olympics are on the docket now. How important was it to you to have players playing internationally again?
It was more important to the players, and that's why we did it. There are issues in terms of disruption of our season and competitiveness when we take 2.5 weeks off to send 150 of our best players halfway around the world. But what became clear to me, and people tend to forget this, we had never gone to the Olympics until I initiated it in Nagano, and I guess that was 98. But having experienced it a few times, it wasn't always easy, and the IOC didn't let us get involved to the extent we thought we needed to. But when we stopped going, it became clear to me, and the players were clear in expressing it to me, that this was important to them. And our sport has a history of tradition of best on best international competition. And so despite the misgivings we have and the issues we have to deal with, we do it, and we're going to do it because the players want to very badly.
In the Four Nations tournament,
this is where we find ourselves. Is we're going to go to the Olympics in 26. We'll do a World Cup in 28, the Olympics in 30, a World Cup in 32. And to begin it all, and it's really pretty short notice to do it, which is why we're only doing Four Nations, we're going to give everybody a little bit of a taste of international best on best with the Four Nations face-off, which is Finland, Sweden, Canada, and the U.S., and it should be a great tournament.
With how much hockey has grown around the world now, do you think that maybe fans will show up even more just knowing that hockey's back in some of these international stages at the professional level?
Well,
with NHL players,
I think the Olympics will draw well and better having our players there because these are the best hockey players in the world. As it relates to us, we played at 95 or 96% of capacity during the regular season and over 100% during the playoffs. So I'm not sure that's going to increase attendance, but it may get more casual fans to engage on media and to watch more, whether it's streamed or social media or on linear television.
Next year, the salary cap is expected to go up quite a bit, for $4.2 million. That's the expected number right now. But how do you see that impacting the teams and just where hockey is heading?
It's going to give our teams a little bit more flexibility. The cap relatively flat for the last few years coming out of COVID and the arrangements we had to make during COVID and coming out of COVID to compensate our players fairly. And so at the end of the day, as revenues go up, salaries go up, and that's a good thing. That's the way the system was made. So the system gives us a hard cap, gives us the best competitive balance of the four major sports, but it also gives the players an opportunity to share in the growth in our revenues.
Commissioner Gary Bettman, thank you so much for joining us today on Duckstream. We appreciate it, and I hope you have a great time at the game tonight.
Great to be with you. Thank you.